with this event. As we begin, I want to say some special welcomes. I want to say a special welcome to our friends from other churches across the community. I see some people I recognize from other congregations, and I'm so glad that you were able to make it, and I hope you can take some of this information home to the place where you worship. And of course, I want to say a special thank you to our special guest, Lieutenant Lopez. Lieutenant Lopez, I'm going to thank tonight, not only for being here and for preparing this presentation, but also for all of the support and tools that the Genesee County Sheriff's Department have offered to churches in the wake of the Grand Blanc shooting. This is not the first time Lieutenant Lopez has come to Court Street United Methodist Church. A few weeks ago, I got to walk around the building with Lieutenant Lopez, and he helped me to see our facility from a safety and security standpoint. He helped us to see those places where we were doing things well and places where we could tighten things up, and we're making some changes around here as a result of that conversation. And I don't want to volunteer him for anything, but if you haven't already called the Sheriff's Department to schedule that kind of walk around at your church, at your worship, house of worship, get on that. It's really helpful, and they're very gracious with their time. As we were wrapping up that walk around at the church, I asked Lieutenant Lopez if he would do one more thing for us. One of the things that we had heard coming out of the Grand Blanc shooting was that there was a disparity in the way that the children and the adults in the congregation responded. The kids who regularly drill for active shooters and have all sorts of trainings through the schools were pretty familiar with this kind of scenario and knew what to do and how to respond. And it was the adults who were a little bit lost and didn't know how to behave, didn't know how to help. And so what I asked Lieutenant Lopez was, would you come back, please, and offer something to our worshiping community, something along the lines of emergency situation response for people who didn't grow up doing active shooter drills and ALICE trainings in school. In other words, for me, help me understand if something happens when we have people here at our campus, what can I do? How can I best respond? What are helpful behaviors? And they very graciously put a date on the calendar and have agreed to come. And so that's what you're going to experience tonight. The information you're going to get tonight is not specific to Court Street United Methodist Church. We're hoping that this is information that will help you be prepared mentally, that will help you feel more confident that you know what you're going to do and how you're going to respond if you find yourself in the middle of one of these emergency situations. All right, that's enough of me. I'm going to let Lieutenant Lopez come up. Would you please join me in greeting Lieutenant Lopez and thanking him for his time?
Thank you. All right. Can you guys hear me on this? Everyone hear me okay? All right. Well, I'm Lieutenant Rudy Lopez. I'm a 23-year veteran at the Sheriff's Office. All right. I've been doing this wonderful job for 23 years. It's an honor for me to come out and do this. This is one of my passions, is educating. All right. What we're going to go through today is a little bit of a mixture. We call it run, hide, fight. Kids call it ALICE. And I'm going to take you guys through this. So we look at the run, hide, fight. We look at a response to an active killer. What we're doing today is prepping you because bad things happen everywhere. This isn't just a church skill. This isn't just a school skill. This is a life skill. There's bad people doing bad things everywhere. Okay, so what we want you to do is have a plan, be prepared. Recognize the threat early, act fast, all right? And know that you have the right to fight for your life, and you don't have to be a victim. All right, next slide. So when I talk to you, you look at ALICE. How many of you guys have heard of ALICE before? Okay, ALICE is a huge school training thing. Every school in Genesee County trains in ALICE. All right, and it talks about awareness, communication. It talks about situational awareness, alert, inform, right? That's the A and the I. And then lockdown, evacuate, and counter is the rest of it, okay? And if you look at it, right next to it, I wrote evacuate means run, lockdown means hide, and counter means fight. Those are your options when you're encountered with a bad situation. We're going to touch a lot on situational awareness. All right, and I'm going to talk to you. So I have had the unfortunate privilege of going to multiple active shooter situations here in the state of Michigan. The sheriff sends us. If there's an issue at a school, the sheriff will send us. So responding to Michigan State, doing the debrief of Oxford, responding to the LDS fire/shooting. We've got a lot of experience in this, unfortunately. When we were doing the investigation at the LDS and helping Grand Blanc Township and the FBI with interviews, we were speaking to a lady, an older lady, and she's like, I just sat there, I didn't know what to do. I froze. She said, thank God my son was with me and grabbed me and said, Mom, we have to run. Let's go. All right? Because he'd been through this. Kids from kindergarten get taught this. They're taught, hey, there's a boogeyman. It's the big bad wolf. We have to run away from trouble. And it's sad, but it's prepping them for life, because life can be real outside those doors. Next slide. So run, hide, fight means the same thing as evacuate, lockdown. These are tools, all right? They're not steps. I can't give it to you linear. It's not if this happens, do this. If this happens, do this. That's not how it is. It is, these are your three options. Whatever you have to do to win the day, whatever you have to do to go home at night is what we want you to do. Okay? Some of you might not be able to run. Some might not be able to fight. You have to do what you can do to go home at night. That might be hiding in a cupboard. That might be locking down behind doors, and we're going to talk about all that today. Next. 2 more. So you look there, and I share this because it's not just the church, right? It's not just a place of worship. It's not just schools. All right, you look at Walmart. How many of you remember the shootings at Walmart? I do. You look at an airport. There's been multiple active shooter events in airports. You look at, right there's an assembly line. Bad things happen at work, right? You look at concerts. We all heard about Las Vegas. Your perception of the environment around you. We want you to know what's going on around you. We want you to see everything, all right? And then you have to comprehend the meaning. There's a lot of knowledge in this room. Most of you, if you see something bad happening, the hair on your neck stands up and you're like, oh, something's not right. We want you to follow that. We want you, if you need to get out, get out. You look at events recently, active killer events, all right? Does it always have to be a gun? No. Can it be a knife? Yep. Can it be a car? Absolutely. Right? It's whatever they want to use. Could it be a bomb? Yes, it could be anything. All right? When you see police officers in uniform and we go to lunch and we go sit in the far back corner, is it because we want to sit there? No. What are we doing? Does anyone know? We want to see the door, right? I want to see who walks in, who walks out. I want to see if something happens at the cash register. We fight for that corner seat. And when we have our back turned to the door, we tell our partner, hey, you got me, right? Yeah, I got you. All right? That's just us being what? Prepared. Wanting to see what's going on around us. Next slide. So this is the Cooper color code of awareness. And I'm going to sum it up super easy. I know we'll go through them. You can go ahead to the next slide. So this is the white. When people operate in the white, these are the people that everything's kumbaya, everything's rainbows and butterflies, and everyone gets along. We live in a perfect utopia. Is that true? Nope. Go ahead, next. Yellow. You're relaxed, you're alert, people around you, you know who's around you. You know if someone's suspicious walking around. This is where we want you to operate, right? This is you knowing, hey, there's a guy that walked in and it's July and I'm wearing a cutoff t-shirt and shorts and I'm sweating and he's wearing a trench coat and pants and that looks suspicious. That is a clue, right? These are those people. They operate, they notice that, and they take themselves out of the situation. Go ahead, next. This is orange. I know it looks red to some people. but this is orange. This is a little bit heightened. Something might be going around. You might have noticed something. Go ahead, next. I'm not sure. This is supposed to be, yeah, whatever. This is the next step. This is supposed to be red, I believe, but it is, the danger's real. Something's happening. Something is going on, okay? You might see a gun. You might see an imprint of a gun. You might hear screaming. You might hear yelling. You might smell smoke. So the danger's real. Go ahead. And then this is the black, operating in the black. This is a complete shutdown. This is where we don't want you to get. This is where you are froze. You are not moving. Everything is bad. I always laugh. There's a really stupid movie out called The Benchwarmers. Has anyone ever seen it? All right. It is hilarious, but it is kind of dumb. And there's a guy that lives in the closet. I think his name's Dewey. And Dewey is afraid of the sun. He's afraid of the air. They have to feed him through the closet door. Like, that guy is operating in the black, right? Like, everything's a danger. The sun's bad. The air's bad, right? Can we live like that? No, right? We can't do that. So we don't want you to be there. We want you to operate. Go ahead, next slide. We want you to operate in that yellow. We want you to know who's around you, what's going on. Situational. If you take anything away from this training today, it is being aware of who's around you at all times. Okay? You know, and I go to a church in Flint Township, and I know when somebody walks in that doesn't belong. And I don't mean doesn't belong, but looks out of place. You know, possibly high or drunk. You know, you see those things. So those are the things we want you to look for. Go ahead. Alerting. All right, what triggers a response? What makes you think something's happening? Up here it says you use your 5 senses, right? You might hear someone screaming help, or you might hear someone yelling gun. You might hear someone yelling he's got a knife or run. You might see people running. You've all seen that, right? Herds of people just taking off running. That usually tells you what? Something's going on. You might smell smoke. You might get punched or hit or knocked down or even, shot. Those are the things. Now, if you taste it, that's kind of weird. I don't know that anybody could taste it. I don't think taste belongs on the slide, but it's there and I can't change it. So, you're probably not going to taste it, but it's on there. And if you do, you got to let me know. Send me a message. All right. How do you get information out? In today's day and age, technology, right? That's the way everyone communicates. All right? Apps, text messages, all calls. The pastor could be up here preaching and say, hey, we need a secure in place, or we need to stay in here, or we're locking down in here, or we have to evacuate, whatever. That is how we're going to get information out to you. Next slide. We want you to provide real-time information. If a man with a gun walks in the front door, we want you to tell everybody, hey, there's a man that walked in the front door with a gun. Run, hide, fight. Do what you have to do. Real-time information. We don't use code words. We use plain English. Why do I say that? How many of you have been to a hospital? How many times are you sitting in the hospital and you hear, boop, code blue in the ER? And then you look at your nurse and they take out a card and they look on their 75 codes. What is code blue? What is code blue? Oh, code blue is a missing child. Don't you think it would make more sense for the all call to say, boop, we have a missing kid, last seen in the nursery with a white male walking towards the main doors? Now I've just created 50 witnesses. Well, they're afraid of the liability of that. But what's the liability if the kid gets out and no one sees it or sees what kind of car they got into, right? We want you to give real-time information. Then give them the response. Evacuate, lockdown, run, hide, whatever you got to do, fight, do what you have to do. The way we get that information out, phones, text messages, emails, PA systems, however you have to get that information out is what we want you to do. Next slide. Like I said, plain language. Information, once you are in a safe place to call 911, the information we want you to provide is, where's the intruder going? Where was he last seen? What was he wearing? Do you see a weapon? And what is it? It says gun or pistol. Here's what I'm going to say. If it's a gun, it's a gun. You don't have to tell me if it's a rifle, whatever. We don't care. Just tell me it's a gun. All right? We want you to provide location. You know, where are you at? Who are you? Were you there? What you saw? What the bad guy looked like? That is vital information. We only ask you to pass that information on once you are safe to do so. Okay, and some of you might say, well, I'm not safe until I'm at Leo's Coney Island ordering my breakfast after this, right? That's okay. We still want you to call because we have to account for you, all right? And I'd be all right with that too. I'd probably meet you there for breakfast and ask you the questions I needed to. Next. So the first option we talk about, the first thing we talk about is run, evacuate. And why do I say run, evacuate? I say evacuate, why? Because that's part of Alice, and that is what your kids are going to know. All right? This is the preferred option. This is what we want you to do. If a bad guy came in here right now with a gun, and all of us took off, and we all ran to the White Horse and ordered some pizza, we're safe. Do we have an active shooter anymore? We don't, right? We have a man with a gun in a building, and that's our specialty as police. We can deal with that all day. You take any victim out of the situation, we got all day to deal with that. That gives us time. Next slide. Why do I tell you you have permission to run? Does anyone know? Go ahead. Because what? Correct. Do you remember what we used to do as a protocol? She said we didn't grow up with that protocol. What did we do? Okay, so we were trained to run into the corner and hide. What else were we trained? How about people who went to school like more towards when I did? Does anyone remember? Stranger. You said it. We were trained to hide under your desk, right? It's the old tornado drill. Remember, you'd go out in the hallway and you'd sit against the locker and you'd get crouched down in like a cannonball and you'd cover your head. And if you were smart, you brought your book and you put your book over your head because that was going to save you. You look at Columbine, which really changed the way law enforcement responds. That is what the kids in Columbine did. I would never tell you to watch the Columbine tapes. I have. I've done the full debrief. It's one of the hardest videos to watch. And the kids go in to the cafeteria. The cafeteria is huge. All the tables are out and all the kids hide under the tables. The kids are saying we should run, and all the staff is saying, no, we're just cover your eyes, cover your head. There's 7 exits to that cafeteria. 5 that went directly outside. Could have been a life changer. We could have minimized casualties. So we tell people it's okay to run. Get as far as you can, as fast as you can. Get out. Get in your car, drive as fast as you can to a safe place. That's why we do it. We want you to leave your belongings. Go ahead. So this is our preferred method. So if you have the ability to get out safely, we want you to get out. All right? If you can't get out or you can't run, yep, and we'll cover that in a minute. Yep. So once you're outside the building, proceed to a rally point or a safe place where you're out of danger. Once you're at that safe place, we want you to call 911, okay? And we had many people at the LDS church that got out and went home and called 911 and said, hey, I'm home, I was at the church. And then they were directed to come meet us at the movie theater where we took statements and made sure they had the services they needed. All right? once you call 911, they're going to give you directions, so just be ready. They're going to tell you to go somewhere because you have to talk to someone. We got to know what you saw, what happened, because this is a crime now, right? We have to investigate it as police. Go ahead, next slide. So this is the hide lockdown, okay? If you cannot run or it is not safe to run and you can't get out, then we want you to hide or lock down. And I want you to look at that picture up there. It's a door, right? Super important that you look at the door. How's the door open? Probably out into the hallway, right? So really, is throwing all those chairs going to do anything in front of that door? Not really, right? Maybe if they have a secondary lock. But I also want you to look at what's next to the door. What's a window, right? Glass. Can you effectively lock down safely in that room? No. Why? Because glass can be defeated. So I have had the unfortunate privilege of going through the Sandy Hook shooting. And we saw the video and we did the debrief. And Sandy Hook's the elementary school. And Sandy Hook did everything right. They saw the guy walking in. They went into lockdown. All right. Sandy Hook had just got their entrance redone. And it was beautiful glass. All glass. So bad guy shoots through the glass, gets through, walks down the hallway. Sandy Hook actually does, they're locked down, all right? They do a great job of locking down. The shooter never gets into a room. Anybody who lost their life in that unfortunate incident was shot through glass, through a window, which is terrible, right? Because glass can be defeated. You know, you have to see where you're at, know where you're at. You know, if I'm locking down here in this beautiful area, you know, what are the walls made of? Are they cement, right? Are they drywall? What is the structure? So those are things you have to look at. So if you can get out, that's why we say get out. Next slide. We talked about opening doors. If a door opens out, like these are double doors. All right. So if you look at any of these doors that open out, all right, if I'm in here and they open outward, it's pretty tough unless you have a secondary lock. A lot of schools have done their homework. They have drop locks now. They're called the Night Lock or other company, other different locks. Fantastic. Those aren't made to be removed by anyone besides the person inside the room. Police can remove them with a certain tool, but they're made to be a secondary lock that stays in. They're very hard to defeat, okay? If you're in a room with the door opening out, you have to start thinking outside the box. For instance, if this doorway was just a single door and it opened out and it was wall and wall, okay, I could push a table against it, wrap a cord around the table, wrap a cord around the handle. Now you have to pull that table through the door frame. Is that physically possible? No, right? So it's starting to think, right? If it opens in, then that picture you saw with all that stuff jammed in front, that helps you now, right? You want to push everything you can in front of that door. You want to protect you want to take time away from him. We always talk about shooters looking for the path of least resistance. They're like water, right? If they come up to a closed door and it's quiet, they're just going to push on. Because unfortunately, these guys aren't looking for certain people. They're just looking for numbers. They want to be as famous as the last guy. And the saddest thing for me is if you look, I can name most of these shooters. Chow, Virginia Tech, right? You can name all these people. Harrison Klebold. I know them. I feel like I know who they are. I can't name one victim. Not one, which is terrible. Right? So their goal is to be the next Harrison Klebold. We've stopped numerous active shooters in this area that have idolized them and made videos idolizing them. There was one in Lapeer, 2 high school kids making YouTube videos, idolizing these guys. Just wasting time and life, right? Just sad. So just know. So you look at the doors. How are you going to do it? Plan. If you have an office, stage your office. I tell teachers, stage your rooms, right? If you have a door that opens in, put heavy stuff by the door that you can just move. Practice putting your secondary lock in. And they do. They do a fantastic job here in Genesee County. Next slide. Once you're locked down, once you are hiding, all right, and it might be hiding in a cupboard. It might be doing whatever you have to do to survive. That's what we want you to do. If you are locked down in a room, if you are hiding in a room, we want you to spread out in the room. Don't all hunker in a corner. Here's what I'm going to tell you. If you're in a brick room, you're pretty safe. You have a steel door, you're pretty safe. Everybody knows a house door is just paneling, right? Everybody knows if you're in a house and you're locked down, most of the walls you can just punch right through and unlock the door if you want because it's just drywall. Okay, so those are things you have to think about. What's around you? Is it cement? Is it brick? We want you to be ready to move, distract the intruder. When we do this with kids, when we do a drill with them, we have them actually find stuff and find weapons and do all this stuff in case the intruder does get in the room. And then we want you to call 911 when it's safe to do so. Any questions on that? Did you have a question? No? All right, next slide. Fight and counter. All right, this is where I give my safety brief. I'm not going to teach you how to fight. We're not going to come up here and roll. We're not doing any of that today, all right? But I am going to tell you how to win every single fight you ever get in. All right, and this is the truth. Eyes, throat, growing. If you take someone's ability to see away, you're going to win the fight. If you punch them in the throat and they can't breathe, you're going to win the fight. If you kick them in the groin and they can't move and you get away, you've won the fight. For a fight, when you are in a fight for your life, you do not have to fight fair. There are no rules. All you have to do is make it home at night to see your family. That's the goal. All right? No one's going to call timeout in this. You are on and this is it. That is how you win the fight for your life. Next slide. We're going to go into what we call distraction techniques and control techniques. All right? Distraction techniques, go ahead. Next one. So it's been proven that the brain can't perform 2 functions at a time. My wife tells me that all the time because I cannot multitask with the best of them. But she reminds me constantly of this, okay? But the brain can't do 2 things at once, really. Some women have superpowers, and they can, all right? But most people can't, all right? When you use a distraction technique, that allows you time. Anytime you're using a distraction technique, you're taking time away from the bad guy and giving it to the good guys. We want you to use the environment and objects around you, all right? And have to fight for your life. Next one. So this is called the OODA loop. How many of you guys ever heard of the OODA loop? Any military in here? Former police or anything? All right. So you're about to get Police Academy 101. All right? So this is like a whole week in the Police Academy and in the military. So the OODA loop is observe, orient, decide, and act. This supercomputer up in your head, everything you do, it does that. And between every action, it happens super fast and moves on to the next one. So I'm going to put it, I'll break it down super simple. All right? So I decide I want to leave here. I am done teaching. And I know I have to walk outside the door, take a left, walk down the stairs, open the main door, walk outside, walk to my car, start it because it is cold, so I'm going to let it warm up while I'm walking. Get in my car, put it in drive, and go. That's my decision. I have to do that. I know it's time to leave. I will leave. My brain comes up with that. I start walking out. All right? What is your name, ma'am? Mary. Mary decides Mary doesn't like Rudy and stands up and punches Rudy. Not that you would, Mary. It'd be Mary decides that she doesn't like me and stands up and punches me. Has Mary just changed my thought process? Yes, right? She's interfered with my OODA loop. She's thrown a wrench in it. So now I got to fight Mary, right? So I'm no longer thinking about going home. Now I'm thinking about defending myself against Mary. It is that simple. We want you to change the shooter's thought process, right? If the shooter comes in and says, I'm going to walk this way, I'm going to do this, because trust me, they've planned it out. And as soon as he walks in here, we start throwing our Chromebooks, or I see some of the 40-pound purses in here that women like to carry. You start hitting them with their 40-pound purse or you know, the big metal jugs, the 75 ounces of water some people carry around. You hit somebody with that, you're changing the thought process, right? Now he's gone from, I'm going to kill innocent people, to now I'm fighting for my life. You've changed his thought process. You've hit the reset button. All of that, does that make sense to you guys, how you reset somebody? All right, next slide. So this is the great Mike Tyson. How many of you guys know Mike Tyson? Not a great person per se, but he's got one of the best quotes. Go ahead.
Mike, you have my favorite quote that everybody has a plan until they get punched in the face.
They all do. Sometimes they punch you back in the face. You got a plan too. You gotta be careful of that.
So his quote is, he's being interviewed before a big fight, okay? And in this interview, they're like, hey, this guy says he's watched a ton of film. He knows you like the back of his hand. And he's got the best quote ever. He looks at the reporter and says, everyone's got a plan until I punch him in the face. That's so true. That is so true. Even in life, you have a plan. How many of you guys plan everything you do? All right. You have a plan. Then what happens? Your water heater goes out, right? Or your pipes burst because it's so cold in this beautiful state of Michigan. Right? And that's a punch in the face, and that changes your plan, right? Everybody's got a plan until you get punched in the face. So you have to prep for that. Our goal is when a bad guy comes in, we take the fight to him. Now we've changed his thought process. All right, you might want to do bad things somewhere else, because here we're not going to be scared, we'll be prepared. That's the goal. Next slide. All right, hold on for a minute. I need a volunteer for this one. That's super easy. Anybody? All right, come on up. I just want you to face right here. Face the screen right here. I want you to point at that red dot for me. All right? Go ahead and hit play. I just want you to follow it. Follow it with your finger. Maybe. There it goes. Just follow it with your finger. Doing great. Still doing pretty good. All right. We're starting to lose her. Okay. All right. Good job. Thank you so much. All right. Was that easy or hard? Easy at first, hard at the end, right? Why is that? Anybody? Speed? Okay. But what makes it hard? Unpredictability, right? There's another way I want to say it, though. That is you reacting to that dot, right? An action is always going to beat the reaction. Does that make sense? You want to take the power away. All right? Why do so many people who get in fights, who throw the sucker punch, win the fight? Because they just took it, right? His action just beat it. There's no reaction because I just seized the day. I just won it. I'm never going to beat this circle. It's never going to happen because I have no clue what it's going to do. Now, if I grab the circle and throw it on the ground, it's over. Make sense? Your action's always going to be the reaction. We want you to be on offense. Next slide. All right, for this one, I want you to count the blue dots and only the blue dots. All right, go ahead. How many? 11. What'd you say, 13? Okay. 11. 11 is the right number. All right, here we go. Next one, do it again. Blue dots only, blue dots. How many? 11, yep. You guys are right. And I will say they did use the right colors, maize and blue, go blue. Sorry for you state people. Oh, gross. All right, I'm just joking. I like them both. But I do like Michigan more. All right, next slide. So this is the old gang pile. You guys remember there were certain inappropriate names for it back in the day. All right. And if a bad guy walked in here and all of us jumped on him, we just won the fight, right? You see the kids, they're securing his head. 2 have his arms, 1's laying across his legs. And I think I heard someone say that you remember the old name. It's not appropriate, so we don't use it. So here's the trick. How many of you guys have watched Cops or one of those shows before, right? Yeah, I can't watch them anymore because I turned into that Monday morning courted, lieutenant commander, and hey, they should have did this, right? So I don't watch them anymore. It frustrates me. But wherever the head goes, the body goes. Simple. That's why you see all these cops, when they do takedowns, what's the first thing they do? They reach for the back of the neck and they pull down, right? That's what we're trained to do. So if someone grabs the neck and they pull them down, and someone grabs the arms and someone lays on their legs, do we have a threat anymore? No. Right? Now, can I teach this to little kids? No. But I tell you, we teach middle schoolers this. They know this. And we put officers that are bad guys in the room and they get to assault them. It's pretty fun. The kids love it. But we've effectively won the fight, right? This is without anything. If he ran in right now, or the bad person came in right now, and we jumped on him, we've just stopped it. Okay? And if you feed him a few, that's up to you. That's your choice. Shouldn't have come to this place to do bad things, but it is what it is. So it's just basic grappling. Wherever the head goes, the body goes, and if we gang pile on and he doesn't move until the police get here, fantastic. If he gets hurt, too bad. Right? Here's what I'm going to say. I teach this to the prosecutors of the county, and it's so hard. And I love them. We're partners in crime, and we fight crime together, but man, they're always like, what's the liability if we hurt them? And you're like, none. You're going to get an award from the sheriff and probably the state and tell you good job. There is no liability. You don't get to come do bad things. That's not how the world works. All right? No, if you stop something like this, you're a hero. All right? Because some people can't. Some people won't. Some people just physically can't do it. All right? On the day of the LDS shooting, man, God was watching out that day. To have a DNR officer literally at the corner, 11 seconds away, I mean, that's unbelievable. People always say, why do bad things happen like that? It's because we have free will, right? That's why. But God was able to put someone close to it to stop it, right? Just know this is an option, and some people aren't going to be able to do it. I've trained hundreds of police officers in firearms. I'm one of the lead instructors for the sheriff's office. I'm one of our tactical team leaders. I run our sheriff's containment team, which is our SWAT team. And I've been involved in many shootings. And I've seen officers get shot. I've seen bad guys get shot. And I always go back to, I had a kid who was fantastic, dialed in, great officer, paramedic. You guys, our paramedics are fantastic, right? They do great work every day. And he got into a shooting, and he was never the same. I remember going to the range with him after, and him drawing his gun, and I'm like, okay, we're going to take it easy, and he points his gun out, and he's just shaking. And I just take the gun from him. I was like, you're probably done. And he's like, yeah, I think so. Lo and behold, he's become a very wealthy doctor, so he's doing fantastic, but it changes you, right? It's a hard thing. We always talk to people, and they're like, well, should we carry in church, or should we carry in, should security carry here, should teachers carry? I know what I signed up for. Okay? It is my calling to do this job. I go to police calls and see the worst of the worst all day, every day. All right? I know that one day someone may try to take my life, or I might have to take someone else's life. Teachers, security guards, unarmed security guards, security teams at church. That's not really what you signed up for, really. All right? That's why we're so evident in our safety protocols and what we do and how we handle and how we call things out. That's us being proactive, right? We want people to walk in our churches, our places of worship, our businesses, our offices, and say, wow, these guys are prepared. Security was on it. They're at the door. They're saying hello. They're greeting, right? They see everything that's going on. There's really no way to get in there. Let's go somewhere else. That's what we want. We talk about the grappling. These techniques can be used by high school students and adults, not used by anyone younger. We do teach middle school this. When we teach this for elementary schools, and I will tell you the schools, they practice jumping out windows. They do. They open the windows and the kids jump out and they practice it because they are prepared. All right, next slide. No matter what, we always get this question. So you see the gun. That's someone picking up a gun after a shooting. All right. Is that a good idea? How many of you guys know guns? Okay. I love guns. They're fantastic. It's one of my hobbies. I thoroughly enjoy shooting. But here's what I'm going to paint you a picture. We're going to get this call. It's going to be at the most inopportune time. For me, I was putting my shoes on, getting ready to go to church when the LDS shooting went out. And I tell my family, stay home, because my worst fear is a multiple attack. Okay, we're going to hit 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 churches in the hospital, right? That's my worst fear. So I look at my wife, I say, stay home, watch it on TV. I grab my gun, grab my raid vest, grab my helmet. I run out, jump in my car, and I drive 120 miles an hour through Grand Blanc. I run every stop sign. All right, I almost get into 2 car accidents. All right, my heart rate's probably 120, 130. Okay, I'm not even running, right? I'm just driving a car. I have tunnel vision, okay? Because anytime you see these officers running hot, if it's a good call, their heart rate's up. They have tunnel vision. Everything goes from here to here. That's why you see them doing this a lot, because they're trying to expand their view. All right, I'm nervous. And I'm driving, and then I pull in, and I grab my go bag, which is just ammunition and like a power bar and a water. We have a little bag we carry with us, and I go to work. And if I walk in and your security team member's holding a gun to the bad guy, who's the bad guy? Right? I have no clue who you guys are. We don't know who your security team is. We don't know who's what. All right, so what do we recommend with the bad guy? We want, if people are holding them down, fantastic. Okay? What do we recommend with the gun? We want you to leave it alone because it's evidence, right? They're going to do DNA on it. They're going to do a whole bunch of stuff with it. We want you to leave it alone. If you have to do something, kick it away in the corner or put a trash can over it. Just leave it. It's safe. As long as no one's holding it, that gun's not going to hurt nobody. All right, so just know, we have no clue. When we talk about this, through this training, all right, when we talk about this, the biggest thing I want you to take is having a plan. One of my favorite pastimes in the world is going to a movie. Does anyone like going to movies? It's one of my favorite, right? I got to financially prepare for it, though, because I'm going to walk in with my kids because they always want to go with me, and then I got to get 2 big popcorns, which is $40. And then your 40 gallons of pop, which is another $20, right? But you get free refills, right? So I love going. It's one of my favorite things to do. My kids, anytime there's a new movie out, let's go, Dad, let's go. They don't even have to ask. Most of the time, I'm like, let's go to a movie. Mom can stay home because she doesn't like our movies. And I go there, and the first thing we do is I sit down, usually towards the top to the back. I don't like anyone behind me. And I say, there's an exit there, there's an exit there. And now my kids tell me, hey, Dad, there's an exit there, there's an exit there. Is that us being scared? Nope. That's just being prepared, right? That's having a plan. How many of you guys are creatures of habit? I am. How many of you guys shop at the same Kroger, Walmart, Meijer every day? I do the loop. I actually get upset when they change the store. Right? Like Kroger and Grand Blanc. Not happy with them. Sam's Club also changed. Didn't enjoy that either, but I'm getting used to it. All right? But how many of you guys know where all the exits are? Right? But you look around, right? I know there's an exit. There's usually an exit towards the back. You have the shipping and receiving area. There's exits back there. Just walk around with your eyes open and watch. That's all I'm asking you to do. All right? Because it does happen. Okay? And you can't live in the it's never going to happen here phase either. Because it did happen here. And it has happened here. Prior to the LDS, we had a shooting at Carmen. We had 2 shootings at the Carmen schools. All right? Next slide. That is it. That is run, hide, fight, guys. You have 3 options. When encountered with bad, and I'm going to tell you right now, you have no clue how you're going to respond to it. When we do our training, so we had the privilege, anyone know where Lakeville is? Was anyone the wrestling coach at Lakeville? No? Awesome. Oh, you were? Okay. So Lakeville, we go there, and Lakeville's like, we want to do a super realistic drill. And at that time, I was a deputy, and they're like, Deputy Lopez, can you make that happen? Yes. And they're like, we want to do a cafeteria drill where everyone's in the cafeteria for lunch, and the shooter comes in, and we were firing blanks, and blah, blah, blah. So I do a safety brief. And I say, okay, guys. I said, we're going to come in here, we're going to fire blanks. We're not chasing anybody. We just want you to evacuate through the exits. Be away from the shooter, run away from the shooter. We had safety people outside. Super safe, super setup. Guy raises his hand. Oh, I was an all-state wrestler in high school. I was like, great. And he's like, no, I just don't, if the shooter comes by me, I'm going to hurt him. I was like, okay. I said, the shooter's a police officer just firing blank rounds in the air, right? It's a little starter pistol, right? Nothing scary. We see him on the track meet all the time. He's like, yeah, just, I know if the round goes off by me, I'm going to hurt him. I was like, oof. So I go out and I tell the actor, it was Deputy Mendez at the time, I was like, hey, watch out for this guy. He's sitting here. If you go by him, he says he's going to hurt you. He's like, okay. I blow the whistle, scenario starts. Kids are talking. Mendez walks in, pop, pop, pop. Kids get up super calmly to start walking to the exits. This is what we told them to do. This guy gets up, looks at Mendez, and just sprints to the exit. Well, there's kids walking, right? So he is trucking and stiff-arming kids down to the ground to get to the door. Okay? Then we get to the exit door. He trips, falls, sprains his ankle, so now I got to get him medical assistance. Blow the whistle, scenario over, and I'm like, hey, what happened? He's like, man, I thought my wrestling instincts would kick in. I thought I would fight. He's like, and as soon as I heard those shots, my heart said, run. My brain said, run. So you never know what you're going to do. You have no clue. Just have a plan. Those are your 3 options. I don't care if you sit there and be like, okay, I can run, I can hide, I can fight. Whatever I have to do to win the day, that's what you have to do. The biggest thing we go through is your situational awareness. All right, we just got through Christmas time. All right, and I know it's not like the old days where we used to go to the mall and you used to have to look around, see who's following you or someone walking in the same aisle as you. How many of you guys notice that? I do, right? I tell the story. You guys know about Oxford, yes? Oxford, super sad. Only 4 lives lost. Why? Because Oxford did Alice, and they did it real good. They run, hide, fight. They do it well. Does anyone know the real story behind it? So I did the debrief. I watched the film. I watched everything with Oakland County, with their now undersheriff, fantastic guy. And he was the lead investigator. And we're going through it, and the real story, how many of you guys have heard of Tate? Tate was the football player, right? He was a really good football player. Tate is in the courtyard listening to music. Tate is a fantastic football player getting recruited by big schools. Tate has his earbuds in, okay? Pause right there. We go back to the shooter. Shooter walks in the door, shoots his first victim. That victim actually lives. He walks down the hallway, and it's a hallway like this where he's got to go left. There's a classroom. The kids start locking down in the classroom. They forget to close the door. Thank God, thank whoever you have to thank that the shooter didn't go in that door. Shooter takes a left, just fires around blindly down the hallway. Pause that bullet. Tate's out in the courtyard. Tate has his earbuds in. The school is actively calling. We have an active shooter. Lockdown, run, hide, fight, whatever they're saying. Tate looks at his watch, decides it's time to go back in. Tate walks in, takes a left, unpause the bullet, it hits him, kills him right there. Tate had his earbuds in, he'd been listening to music, he did not hear the alerts, he did not hear the alarms. Was Tate using situational awareness? Nope. This is so important that you share this with your children, your grandchildren, whoever, your nieces, your nephews. Have them take one out. Be aware of what's going on around you. All right? Have them get their face out of their phone just for a minute to see what's going on around them. That will tell you the story. Tate would still be here today had he not had his earbuds in. All right? Situational awareness. So if you take anything away from this, I just want you to be perceptive of what's going on around you. Who's around you, what's going on. And when bad things happen, what are your 3 options? Run, hide, fight. That's it. All right, you guys have been wonderful. We are at our hour, almost. I'm going to open it up for questions. I do need you to ask the questions into the microphone. Pastor will walk around with the microphone. So if you have any questions, go ahead and raise your hands. But you guys have been wonderful.
I appreciate you saying what you said about not knowing what you'll do, because right at the beginning when you were talking about running, I'm sort of thinking, and I wonder if this is a problem, I have trouble picturing myself running, not just because I can't run, but because I picture myself thinking, oh, I should stay and help someone else. I'm wondering if that's common, and obviously I don't know if that's what I would truly do. That's my one question. My other question is, I've had similar training through my employer, and I recall vaguely, not good that I only recall it vaguely, something about noticing what the shooter or whatever they are is wearing, and maybe focus on shoes, because that's the last thing they'll change if they are going to be changing what they're wearing, if you know anything about that.
So, yeah, so your first question was, whatever your body tells you to do is what you're going to do. That's the unfortunate thing. Your body might say, just freeze and don't move. what I want you to do is if encountered with this kind of situation, I want you to think run, hide, fight. Those are my options. If you're trying to help somebody, that is fantastic, okay? But it's also a way for another number to be added to that body list. So just know, that's a personal choice. I tell teachers that all the time. When we teach teachers, I tell them, hey, once you close and lock your door, you can't open it. I don't care if little Tommy comes knocking on the door and says, my wife, Mrs. Lopez, opened the door. I tell her you're not supposed to open the door. Because now if the bad guy's out there and you let Tommy in and he gets in, now you have 30 more victims, right? Well, I can't tell you what you're going to do. I can tell you my wife's probably going to open the door, right? She's got a big heart. She wants to make sure little Tommy's okay. But that's why we train little Tommy to run, hide, fight too, right? So he knows if locked door, keep going to, we don't care if you run to a neighbor's house. So it's whatever your body, your brain says, right? It's your OOD loop at that time. Like he's throwing a wrench in it. You had a plan to either come here or worship or shop at the store. He's throwing a wrench in it. Now I gave you 3 tools. You got to pick one and go with it. As for the shooter, we want you to give your best description of them. I'm going to tell you, I'm a police officer. I see clothing, hats, hoodies, pants. Very rarely do I see shoes. And it's what I've been in hundreds of foot chases. I've been in vehicle chases. What you see is what you're going to see. And depending on where you're at in your mental state at that time, because you might be in a complete shutdown. You might be in that black zone, right? You might be just totally off to the world. Whatever you can remember is great. If you see shoes, you see shoes. Some kids, my son, he could see a pair of shoes, be like, oh, that's the 1987 Michael Jordans right there, Dad. Red and black special edition. That's his thing. He might see that. So we just tell you to remember what you can. All right? Questions?
So for us who teach like the 0 to kindergartners, what advice do you have for us as far as like 2 of us being in a room with 3 open doors?
So that's a good one. So I'm going to tell you to stage your room. Stage it so that you can win. Have a plan. Know what kind of doors you have. Here's a fortunate thing. If you're in a building, for instance, like this, it's upstairs, it's out of the way, there's time there. You have time to get to a different location that might be safer or better, right? You might be able to get to an all brick room with a steel door. So just know and have a plan, but practice that plan. So if you have 3 doors, really you only need 1 door to operate. So secure the rest. Put stuff in front of it. Make sure it's safe. Make sure you're following the fire code. There's always fire code you got to look at. Those guys will get you. But just know, have a plan. So stage your room. Put stuff in front of it. Have a plan and practice doing, secondary locks. My wife for the longest time, we learned the hard way. We were in Clio High School. They did not have secondary locks at the time. We had a teacher. She locked down in her room, all brick, solid wood door. She ties a silk scarf around the pencil sharpener and around the handle of her door, and she just kept tying it and looping it and tied it in a knot. We tried to get in there. Well, the silk cinched down so tough, we had to call the fire department to come cut the silk with a special cutter because we couldn't get anything in to cut it to get her out, right? So she was super safe. So just have a plan. Know what you're going to do. Stage your room up so that you can win. Any other questions? Wow, I'm a fantastic teacher. All right, so I do want to cover one other thing, and if you think of a question, just raise your hand and we'll get you the mic. Most of these incidences, people do not die from the gunshot wound. Does everyone understand that? Or they don't die from the gunshot immediately. All right, what do they usually die of? Blood loss, right? So if you're shot in the arm or the leg, we want you to apply a tourniquet, okay? And a tourniquet is a belt. We want you to use a belt. There's tourniquets. We have tourniquets staged in our church. We have them staged in our schools. You can get them online. If you ever want to look at any, let me know. I'll send guys over and they can show you some. and they can tell you who to order from. That's a really good deal. You can get them off Amazon. I carry one in my personal vehicle, whatever. If I drive up on an accident, I could save someone from blood loss, that's it. But those are limbs. All right, you could use a scarf. We don't want you to use shoelaces. All right, so if I'm shot in the bicep, you'd want to go over, all the way up, as high as you can, and tie it off tight, as tight as you can. All right, once you tie it, put something in there and twist it, and that's going to cinch it down. Yep, it will stop the blood is the goal, okay? And then just take time, notice what time it is, because the hospital is always going to say, what time did you apply that? And you're like, ugh, no clue, right? So just take a little mental note of what time it was. If you are shot in the body or the head, you can't do that, right? All you can do is what? Apply pressure, all right? If it's a bullet wound in the chest or the abdomen, we want you to pack it. And we don't care what you pack it with. You can use a T-shirt. We just want, and it's gross, we want you to just start pushing clothing in there to stop the blood. I'm going to give you a helpful hint. Do not, so we were on a scene and this guy packed it and he kept lifting to see if it stopped bleeding. And I'm like, you can't lift it, right? Because every time you do, your body's starting to clot. And every time that starts to clot and you lift it to see if it stopped bleeding, it didn't. You're ripping the clotting, right? So just know, pack it with whatever you can and just apply pressure. All right? The medics, you guys live in a community where we have sheriff paramedics. You have ambulances. They will be there and they will take over, and they are fantastic at what they do. So anything in the body, pressure, and we stuff it with a T-shirt. We don't care if it's a dirty T-shirt. We'll fix the infection, right? We just want you to pack it, pressure. And you just keep going until you can't get anything else in there. Yep. So it's how many nurses? Do I have nurses? Any old nurses? I'm pretty much describing this correct, yes? Our medics usually teach us. They were on a call when I came here, so but that's what they want, and they'll fix everything else. We just got to slow the blood down so that we can get them to treatment. All right? Tourniquets we don't use shoelaces. We can use belts. You can use scarves. Ties sometimes work. But whatever you can do to stop the blood flow to that arm or slow it down to minimize the bleeding, that can save a life. That will save a lot of lives. All right? And that is Stop the Bleed. That is a Stop the Bleed course in 3 minutes. All right? That is how you do it. All right? And doing nothing hurts. All right? Because if you have the ability to slow something down or help someone live, that's a huge thing. Any questions on that? They're too thin, and usually they don't cover enough area to shut down all the vessels and the veins and all that. So you want a belt, a tie, something thicker. If you look at the ones you can order online, they're about 1.5 inches usually, and then they come with a little stick that you twist, super easy, and then they have a spot to write the time down on. And I can provide that. So we also have, if you want to go through a full Stop the Bleed course, you go to the Genesee County Sheriff's Office YouTube page. You will find the Run, Hide, Fight portion of this. You can watch it with your family or whoever, pass it on. And you will also find a Stop the Bleed where they show you different tourniquets and stuff like that. So just go to the YouTube page. You can scroll that. There's a bunch of other stuff on there too for instruction on that. Any other questions, comments, concerns? Go ahead. So we open this up to a lot. So there's the exits. I honestly don't know where they go either. I would believe they go out to Court Street, yes? So they would go out to Court Street. But this would be my advice to you is get with one of the security team leaders here or one of the security guys, and they would be more than happy just to give you a full walkthrough of this place. I mean, it's honestly, doing the walkthrough was pretty cool. I mean, this place is so old. You're like, wow, it's still standing and not burnt down, which is unbelievable. And it is beautiful. I mean, just seeing the structure and everything with this building, I was amazed. It's a beautiful building. But yeah, I would get with someone and just get with the pastor. He could probably pass on some information on who to talk to, okay? Any other questions, comments, concerns? All right, just a show of hands. I do this every class. How many of you guys found this information valuable? Just raise your hand. Awesome. That's why I do it. If you guys ever need anything, feel free to reach out to the sheriff's office. You guys have been a wonderful class. Thank you for coming. Thank you for braving this winter storm. Hope everyone has a wonderful night.
One more time, can we thank Lieutenant Lopez? Thank you, thank you. Thank you. So I hope you'll indulge me as I do just a little bit of housekeeping on our way out tonight. I also want to thank our staff for staying late and putting in extra time on what ordinarily would have been a snow day for our staff at Court Street United Methodist Church. I particularly want to thank our live stream tech crew. Everything that happened tonight was live streamed on our YouTube and our Facebook pages, and it's all available there after you leave tonight. And so there was a lot of information. Some of it might have come too fast to really absorb. You might have missed taking some notes that you would have liked to take. You can go home and watch this over and over and over again at your own convenience. And you can share this with friends. You can share this with other congregations. You can share this with anybody who you think might find it useful, helpful. And so thank you to our live stream crew for coming in tonight and making that happen. There will be more follow-up here at Court Street, and I hope at our neighboring congregations as well. So this was a general information session. At Court Street, we're already working on plans for something that will be more specific to the church. Part of that is going to be, we're going to walk through those doors, because this is, if we need to evacuate the sanctuary, the best way is through those doors. There are people who have been here at Court Street for 60 years and don't know what's on the other side of those doors because they've never had any reason. And the last thing I want is for us to be evacuating the building and somebody's walking through that door and finds out there's a lot of interesting stuff on the other side. And we don't want you sightseeing. We want you to go through and know what it's like before. So we will do that sort of thing. We will do some, how am I going to exit this space kind of drills and training here at Court Street. We're going to talk about, if somebody is a threat in the sanctuary, how can we distract them? It's okay to throw the Bibles. I'm going to tell you right now, I'm giving you permission. They're handy, they're heavy, they're aerodynamic, okay? And one of the things we believe at Court Street United Methodist Church is that the life you might be saving is more sacred than the pages you're throwing. And so it's okay to throw the Bibles if you have to do that. We're going to do a Court Street specific training, and I would anticipate that probably those are going to happen at a lot of the other congregations in the community as well. A lot of those conversations are going to continue. All right. So again, thank you, Lieutenant Lopez. Thank you for everybody who helped to make tonight happen. And before we send you out, can we take a moment to take a deep breath and approach God in prayer? Let's, right where you are, breathe deep, open your heart to God, and let's pray. God, we wish we didn't have to have these kinds of conversations. And it is painful and scary to think through these scenarios. And our prayer tonight is that everybody who participated online and in person would walk away not with fear and anxiety, but with confidence, knowing that in an emergency there are things that we can do to keep ourselves safe and to keep the people around us safe, knowing that we have options and having some sense of helpful ways in which we can respond. God, we give you thanks for Lieutenant Lopez and his time. We give you thanks for the people who respond to emergency situations in our community every day. We thank you for teachers who train children to respond to these situations and have to think these things through every time they go to the office. And God, we pray for that day when your kingdom will come and heal this world, and there will be no more fear. And there will be no more hurting, and there will be no sickness, sadness, death, or pain. And until that day, God, make us good shepherds, good caretakers, good keepers of our brothers and sisters. These things we pray in Jesus. Amen. Thank you so much for being here tonight, friends. And if you need to hug somebody on the way out, that's okay.